Well, yes, it's true. I missed a milestone birthday event yesterday as the Fraud King hit the big 4-0. A fact several of you, my faithful followers and subscribers, reminded me of throughout the day. And it was a celebration yesterday, with the media fluffing this guy up in his little informal shoot-around interview. And of course, that was in addition to the copious amounts of articles and homage pieces which were pouring out from his horde of loyal jock sniffers. Of course, though, LeBron, as always, was happy to oblige his throng of doting media and talk about himself, effusively praising his steroid use, the care and attention he pays to his conditioning. As he noted, he could pretty easily play at a high level for another 5 to 7 years, if he wanted to, that is.
I probably play this game at a high level, probably about another, weird that I might say, about another 5 to 7 years if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, just like he could average a triple-double if he really wanted, lead the league in scoring every year if he really wanted, and make it past the first page of a book if he really wanted. But the love would pour out from others around the NBA in sending Bron well wishes.
You are annoying and full of yourself and never past. But we love you anyways. We accept you for who you are.
People are scared of 40. You don't have to be. Let your hair grow.
Kyle, please. We all know LeBron hasn't been actually growing hair in years.
Or maybe your beard.
That's more like it. And even one of the rare coaches LeBron didn't get fired during his career got to send some well wishes, presumably while he was clearing out his office from his recent firing.
LeBron, happy 40th, my man.
And well, ultimately, I feel bad that I didn't get a chance to wish one of the game's greats well on his big day. Therefore, in honor of the King, I am re-uploading my groundbreaking documentary event, The LeBron Rules, here in entirety for any of you that might have missed it. But first, I also wanted to wish you all a very happy New Year's and thank you all very, very much for your support throughout the year. And if by any chance you are not subscribed yet, please consider doing so now as I make my official push to 100,000 subscribers in the year of 2025. But now, without any further ado, there is a vast landscape of all-time great players throughout the history of professional basketball, with varying degrees of cases to their own individual claim on the mantle of greatest player of all time. And for 20 years and counting, LeBron James has been trying to tell us all about why he thinks he is the GOAT, tattooing Chosen One on his back as a teenager, bandying about the nickname of King, and just outright telling us he's the GOAT in recent years.
That one right there made me the greatest player of all time.
Throughout all of his embarrassing and unapologetic self-aggrandizing through the years has been his inner circle of sycophants, helping to carry on and push the brand of LeBron. An elite inner circle which contains high-powered sports agents and high-profile media personalities, if not full entities, and the NBA itself. As for whatever reason, the National Basketball Association and its media has coddled, protected, and advanced the interests and legacy of the self-proclaimed king from almost the very beginning, misreporting and in many instances just outright hiding stories of collusion, league rules violations, obvious failures on the court, and repeated connections to steroids. The story of LeBron James is one that has been authored by a petulant child from Akron and parroted by multi-billion-dollar organizations. These are the LeBron Rules. And from an early age and stage of LeBron's career, we have seen this manufactured narrative surrounding him. The Chosen One. After all, it isn't just the tattoo he has inked on his back. It was the headline of the Sports Illustrated article about LeBron James, which was published in 2002, when LeBron was still just a junior in high school. And that article and headline actually preceded LeBron getting the famous tattoo, and it served as the impetus for it. The article came at a time when Michael Jordan was in his final act with the Wizards, and the NBA was desperately searching for a new cash cow. And the NBA sports media was ready to play their part in the promotion and legacy creation of LeBron in his first season when he hit the NBA, and they gave him Rookie of the Year that season, despite it being fairly obvious that Carmelo Anthony deserved the award. With Melo averaging more points and rebounds per game while outshooting LeBron from every level of the field and taking the Nuggets to the playoffs in the more difficult Western Conference, as Denver won 8 more games that season, which was an improvement from the year before of 26 games versus the Cavaliers, who experienced just an 18-game improvement from the year prior. The media then decided to hand LeBron back-to-back league MVPs in just his aged 24 and 25 NBA seasons, despite Kobe Bryant having the 1 seed both seasons in the drastically more difficult Western Conference while winning back-to-back NBA championships, as LeBron choked and fizzled out in each of those 2 playoff seasons. The pro-LeBron media was so desperately pushing the LeBron vs. Kobe pipe dream finals matchup both seasons LeBron flamed out with the embarrassing Kobe and LeBron puppet Nike campaign. And major outlets were silent in the wake of allegations that James quit on the Cavaliers in the 2009-2010 playoffs amid stunning accusations that LeBron's own teammate Delonte West was sleeping with LeBron's mother. They then also largely remained hush-hush on any criticism for LeBron about colluding behind his existing franchise's back to erect a super team in Miami with his bestie Dwayne Wade. Not only was the preeminent sports broadcasting superpower ESPN startlingly silent about the grotesque and potentially league-destroying move, they championed it by airing The Decision, a 75-minute epic cringe fest hosted by Jim Gray on their airwaves. And less than 1 year later from The Decision, LeBron was, again, barfing all over himself on the biggest stage, crapping his pants in the NBA Finals with a 2-1 lead against the drastically undermanned Dallas Mavericks, a team with 1 All-Star compared to the LeBron Bosh Wade super team. James was the 5th leading scorer for that series and 3rd leading scorer on his own team. But the following season, in 2011-2012, LeBron was rewarded by the fanboy media.
So thank you, LeBron James, for what you're bringing to our league.
Desperately trying to inflate his legacy. The guy can't win any championships, so let's go ahead and hand him his 3rd league MVP in 4 years at just the age of 27. The super team Miami Heat that preseason were plus 225, making them overwhelming title favorites. But the Heat that season had just the 4th best record in the NBA and 2nd best record in their own Eastern Conference. They didn't even win the 1 seed in their own conference, despite the lofty preseason expectations and a stacked super team. But let's just go ahead and give him the league MVP that year. And when LeBron decided to jump back to Cleveland after a humiliating defeat at the hands of the San Antonio Spurs, James was never criticized. He went from taking his talents to South Beach 4 years earlier,
In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach.
to returning home. Never discussed was the fact James delivered just 2 titles out of 4 years following his humiliating declaration they would win 8 titles with him there.
Not 5, not 6, not 7.
LeBron's time in Miami should be viewed in no other light than as an unmitigated failure. Instead, it is used as a legacy-building cornerstone for LeBron James. And when he tucked his tail between his legs and crawled out of town for the second time in his career, well, that wasn't talked about either. The narrative just became LeBron going home to take care of unfinished business instead of what it really was. James joining an ascending all-star level talent in Kyrie Irving while having the Cavaliers leverage the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft that season to acquire a second-team All-NBA player in Kevin Love, coming off of a historical individual season. But the NBA's media, and primarily ESPN, cannot possibly risk upsetting their delicate golden boy LeBron James, as the NBA represents a major segment of ESPN's broadcasting rights. So much so that ESPN pays the NBA $1.4 billion annually through the 2024-2025 season, at which point there are rumors that the NBA will be seeking to triple that amount. As a result, LeBron James and his inner circle hype dogs have an undeniable influence on the narratives being produced and promoted on that network. Former ESPN host Michelle Beadle recently went on record about the fact LeBron messaged her directly and tried to get her fired.
I made fun of the decision, and I got a DM that was like, "Why are you so mean to me on television?" And I just sort of laughed it off. I didn't even think about it, right? Of course I took it personally. It was personal, like you wanted to be fired and tried to do that.
She also indicated that according to her sources and others within the industry, this kind of thing is common practice.
But then I found out after the fact, like when all this sort of came out, I would get messages, or I would get like texts or video from people being like, exact same, like that kind of shit was happening to them too. Like he was super petty and he would try to have some sort of an effect.
Yeah, Michelle Beadle is no longer employed by ESPN. Who is employed by ESPN, though, is the foremost LeBron hype man himself, Brian Windhorst, who coincidentally graduated from St. Vincent St. Mary's, which is the same high school as LeBron James himself. And he coincidentally started covering LeBron during his playing career in high school for the Akron Beacon Journal and later the Cleveland Plains Dealer. When LeBron took his talents to South Beach, Windy took his talents to ESPN, moving on to the Miami beat at just the age of 32. Since then, Windhorst has moved markets at every stop of LeBron's career, while rising through the ranks at ESPN, becoming one of their preeminent basketball analysts and touting LeBron James one puff piece after the next on both ESPN's airwaves and print platforms.
In my mind, LeBron's an absolutely brilliant passer, maybe the best ever. LeBron's had as great of an impact off the court as just about any player in all of professional sports. I could argue that the comeback that LeBron led in the 2016 finals from 3-1 down is arguably one of the greatest performances in the history of the playoffs.
All the while, ESPN, amid a slew of firings in recent years, continues to employ various other high-profile LeBron jock sniffers, such as Kendrick Perkins, who is routinely critical of virtually every NBA player except LeBron James, offering one impassioned defense of his legacy after the next. And that is in between other terrible takes and race-baiting narratives like Nikola Jokic didn't deserve the MVP and was only in consideration somehow because of his skin color.
It's only 3 guys that won the MVP that wasn't top 10 in scoring. Steve Nash, Jokic, and Dirk Nowitzki. Now, what do those guys have in common? I'll let it sit there and marinate. You think about it.
What?
But let's lay off of any criticisms of LeBron, shall we?
This is not tennis where rings and championships define your legacy. How about the individual accolades? Because you could be on a team that just don't have the pieces and you could be doing more than your part, which LeBron James has been doing his entire career.
and the media has done their absolute best to promote and advance the fake legend of LeBron with various media shills at other high-ranking sports networks aside from ESPN. As Nick Wright, leading LeBron propagandist, at just the age of 38, has rapidly advanced through the industry to become one of the leading voices of Fox Sports Network.
LeBron's been the best player ever since about midway point of Game 6 of last year's finals, and all he's done since then is continue that.
While preeminent jock rider Colin Cowherd just traded in his ESPN credentials for a move to Fox Sports.
But when you put the magnifying glass on LeBron, he just does a lot more at a much higher level than Michael Jordan.
As the media continues to push the agenda of LeBron's GOAT status, they also continue to hide or outright ignore damaging stories about LeBron, such as his continued hypocrisy regarding the China situation. Namely that James has painted himself as some kind of modern-day social justice warrior while simultaneously going out of his way to hypocritically defend China, such as when Daryl Morey spoke out against human rights violations there, standing with protests in Hong Kong. LeBron, though, had China's back, criticizing Morey and protecting his own interests, which primarily involved his own pocketbook.
I don't want to get into a word or sentence feud with Daryl Morey.
Today, Junior?
But I believe he wasn't educated on the situation at hand, and so many people could have been harmed, not only financially, but physically, emotionally, spiritually.
Spiritually? Ecumenically?
When you say things or do things, if you're doing it, and you know the people that can be affected by it, and the families and the individuals and everyone that can be affected by it.
Show me the money!
James has also amassed inarguably the most impressive career in NBA history in terms of durability and longevity, which is the source of another potentially criminally underreported story flying around the self-proclaimed king. As former MMA fighter and self-professed doper Chael Sonnen recently accused LeBron of not only using performance enhancers, but claims he also knows exactly what LeBron is using.
If the world understood what LeBron did, we have the same drug guy, if you will. I know exactly what he's doing. EPO matters. It's the reason LeBron takes it. It's the king of performance enhancers.
EPOs are natural occurring hormones that stimulate the bone marrow to create more red blood cells and thus substantially increase endurance levels. And for purposes of this conversation, HGH, or human growth hormone, boosts muscle and bone growth to promote recovery. And HGH is, if someone were using, hypothetically of course, the hardest PED to test for. This is because HGH remains in the system a maximum of 2 days. But is LeBron actually using? It would be extremely irresponsible to take walking mouthpiece Chael Sonnen's word for it. And while there has been nothing definitively proven throughout his career, there is plenty of smoke surrounding the longevity king. And in terms of eye test alone, LeBron's body has undeniably gone through some alarming physical transformations throughout the course of his 20-year career, while his durability has remained at unprecedented levels. And his 4-year stint in Miami coincided with substantial gains in muscularity. James, of course, played in Miami from the years of 2010 to 2014. And it was coincidentally in 2013 in Miami where the biogenesis scandal erupted, linking several Major League Baseball players to PEDs, including Alex Rodriguez, Ryan Braun, and Nelson Cruz, among many others. The mastermind of the alleged health clinic was Anthony Bosch. And in recently unredacted federal documents, LeBron James's longtime friend and business manager, Ernest Mims, as well as his former trainer, David Alexander, who also served as LeBron's wife's personal trainer, were both specifically named as clients of Biogenesis. I'm certain this is all just one big coincidence. But when he went back to Cleveland for the 2014-2015 season at the age of 30, LeBron seemed to be declining in both athleticism and stamina. Thus, on December 30th, 2014, LeBron decided to take a bizarre 2-week leave of absence from the Cavaliers to return to Miami for some R&R. The Cavs at the time were only 18-13 and in 5th place in the Eastern Conference. And in the final 8 games before his leave of absence, LeBron averaged just 24.4 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, and 7.8 assists on 48% shooting from the field. When he returned from the 2-week hiatus, his explosion and athleticism had mysteriously returned to form from years prior. And in the 8 games following his return, he averaged 30.5 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 6.5 assists on 51% shooting. LeBron's return to form would coincide with the Cavaliers making a jump from the 5 seed to the 2 seed over the remainder of that season. Nothing to see here, just more coincidences. But in late February of this most recent 2023 NBA season, LeBron crumpled to the ground while a hot mic picked up an undeniable statement by the King that he felt a pop. Following a diagnosis by the team and the admission from LeBron himself, he tore a ligament in his foot.
I tore a tendon in my foot.
Various reports indicated that the injury could potentially be season-ending, or perhaps James would be able to return to the team if they went deep enough into the playoffs. Yet miraculously, LeBron would return earlier from the injury than any of the doctors anticipated because, according to LeBron himself, he was healing faster than any of the doctors had ever seen.
When did you get a sense of you would have a plan to get you back faster than what the normal?
When the doctors told me I was healing faster than anybody I've seen before with the injury.
Unprecedented healing never before seen by any doctors for an athlete with unusually high usage and wear and tear in his 20th season at the age of 38. Just so many coincidences. Totally feasible though. Nothing to see here. And likely nothing the NBA doesn't already know is happening.
So thank you, LeBron James, for what you bring to our league.
As neuroscientist Andrew Huberman, who is an associate professor of neurology at Stanford University School of Medicine, recently was a guest on the Joe Rogan podcast when he went on record with reports from an active NBA player.
I know someone who's a professional basketball player, and I asked him about steroids, and he said, well, if you get injured, you can take up to 200 mgs a week, which is considered a TRT dose, is allowed according to this player. But that's actually a pretty big dose.
Could the smug interviews with LeBron bragging about his unprecedented healing at the age of 38 be because, in fact, he knows his level of importance to the NBA is too high for them to risk outing him? Well, it wouldn't be the first time the NBA has gone above and beyond to protect the legacy of their king cash cow. As one of the worst kept secrets in the entire sport is his obvious connections with Clutch Sports Group, which was found by sports agent, CEO, and longtime LeBron confidant Rich Paul, who met James while selling jerseys out of his car in 2002 when James was still in high school at the time. You know, that guy.
That one right there made you the greatest player of all time.
Yeah, he founded Clutch Sports Group in 2012 with LeBron James his primary client. Today, Clutch has emerged as a powerhouse agency, managing over $1 billion worth of annual contracts with 30 NBA clients, which is more than all but one other sports agency in the world. While the NBA has officially investigated LeBron's connections with the agency, they have found no wrongdoing and that he doesn't officially hold any stake with the company. Yet Charles Barkley recently went on record and indicated that everyone knows how it is with Clutch and their bullying tactics, while an unnamed rival agent recently alleged that it is a well-known fact in NBA circles that LeBron does all of the recruiting for Clutch. And one of those recruits, Anthony Davis, of course, who signed with Clutch in September of 2018. And less than 5 months later, in January of 2019, Davis would inform the Pelicans that he wanted to trade through his agent Rich Paul, a violation of NBA rules, since he was still under contract for an entire year. Further, Rich Paul made it clear that Davis would not accept a trade to any other team except for the Lakers, which of course was LeBron's team. Anthony Davis, a top 5 player in the NBA at the time, had plenty of other suitors, but New Orleans had no choice but to trade Davis to LeBron. And the NBA gladly consummated this trade between New Orleans and Los Angeles. Does anyone recall a suspiciously vetoed trade between New Orleans and Los Angeles in 2011 that would have paired prime Chris Paul with Kobe Bryant? Probably had something to do with desperately trying to get LeBron some championships, as he still had 0 at that time in his career. He, of course, would go on to win his first career title that very season, only after the NBA killed the Chris Paul to LA trade for Kobe, which would have paired Bryant and CP3, 2 top 5 MVP finishers that season, and both were named first-team All-NBA that year. The NBA blocked and vetoed that trade for basketball reasons, despite LeBron having a bona fide super team in Miami at the time. And nothing to see here with that Anthony Davis to LA trade. LeBron's agent and best friend forcing a franchise that had Anthony Davis under contract to trade him to LeBron's team. And that very season, the Lakers behind Anthony Davis would go on to win the NBA championship. Davis led those playoffs in points scored, win shares, and was largely viewed as the best defender in that postseason. You can make a viable case he was the Lakers' best player on that title run that resulted in LeBron's 4th title. And that, of course, resulted in LeBron wanting his damn respect.
And I want my damn respect too.
And of course, for his media flunkies to ratchet up more fake GOAT commentary. So how exactly does a career loser who has been in the NBA for 2 full decades and counting now, winning only 4 championships, despite unprecedented luck, team hopping, and roster stacking, manage to weasel his way into not simply Mount Rushmore conversations, but GOAT debates? Well, it has certainly not been easy. And as the saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. It has taken a massive collaboration between multi-billion-dollar organizations to collude, conceal, and lie LeBron's way to the top. And heavy is the head that wears a crown.